In the name of Allah, the most gracious, the most merciful, in every period of Islam, various oppressions were carried out against Muslims. Attempts were made to make Muslims love Allah and faith, but they were unsuccessful every time. In this story, we will tell you a heartbreaking event. This event is the story of the Pharaoh's wife, who did not bow her head against the most cruel ruler of the world and even made the greatest sacrifice for her faith. That woman was none other than the Pharaoh's wife, Hertz, Riza Anha. While the Pharaoh, the world's greatest oppressor and tyrant, considered himself a plaintiff of Allah, how did his wife believe? What was the reason for her belief? And when the Pharaoh received the news that his wife believed, how much oppression and cruelty did this unfortunate man impose on a noble woman? Friends, who is the Pharaoh's wife and whose children is this child from? What position and status did Allah Almighty grant to this pious woman after the sacrifice of Rashad? The Pharaoh's wife, Hertz, Asai, may Allah be pleased with her, was from the lineage of the Egyptian king bin Walid, and this view was Benit was the same king who was the king of Egypt at the time of Hazrat Yusuf alayhis salam, and this lucky king believed in Hazrat Yusuf alayhis salam. The wife of the Pharaoh was Hazrat Asai Riza Anha Intaha Hussein. She was Semilhatan because this woman was from the lineage of the king, and therefore she had no problems in terms of wealth and riches. For this reason Allah was always with her. This pious woman did not like the Pharaoh, but since he was the king of Egypt, when the Pharaoh saw her beauty, he was forced to marry her. Hazrat Asai Raziella, and her father did not like this marriage at all. Under the pressure of circumstances, they married Hertz Asai to the Pharaoh. Dear friends, the reign of the Pharaoh, his kingdom, his wealth and his drunkenness with power made him extremely arrogant and uncontrollable. In this way, this poor man made thousands of Israelites his slaves and did all kinds of cruelties to them. Because this poor man claimed that he was God, for this reason, he saw all people as slaves. He treated innocent people like animals. Then time continued to flow like this quickly. Years, months turned into weeks, and weeks into days, and then came the time when Allah's beloved prophets Hazrat Musa, peace be upon him, and Hazrat Harun, peace be upon him, came into the world, and the land of Egypt echoed with the voices of La ilaha illallah. There is no. He had assigned the Prophet Muhammad to lead his nation to the right path. These prophets of Allah had taken the children of Israel as their slaves. Hertz, Musa, peace be upon him, called the people of the world to worship Allah and forbade them from worshipping idols. Hertz, Musa, peace be upon him, showed the Pharaoh various miracles, but these people persisted in their disbelief and rebellion and continued to deny the oneness of Allah. Hertz, Musa, peace be upon him, continued to invite the Pharaoh and the people of the children of Israel to the truth. When the Pharaoh saw this, he determined a special day to prove that Hertz, Musa Ali was a liar. On that day, a large fair was set up in Egypt, and a large number of people were gathering at the fair. The Pharaoh called all the great magicians of Egypt and asked them to prove that Hertz, Musa, peace be upon him, was a liar. When the day of the fair came, a very large area was decorated, and people who were intoxicated by their faith were sitting on their magnificent thrones there. In addition, great magicians were called from every corner of the country. There were thousands of people gathered in a fair like this, and this was the best of right and wrong. It was a great competition that countless people came together and watched. The true prophet of Allah, Hertz, Musa, peace be upon him, and Hertz, Harun, peace be upon him, were also there. So a great competition began, and after the magicians swore on their honor, they started throwing their magic wands and ropes. Then suddenly those sticks and ropes turned into snakes, and they started running around the whole field. When all the people saw the snakes, fear and panic started, and everyone started running around in panic. The magicians, who were intoxicated by their fate, started applauding and rejoicing when they saw this scene. Here, Allah Almighty ordered his beloved prophet, Hertz Musa, peace be upon him, to throw his blessed staff. When the time came, Hertz Musa, peace be upon him, threw his blessed staff in front of those snakes, and soon that staff of Hertz, Musa, peace be upon him, appeared as a weapon that spread terror, and terror that frightened all the magicians. It swallowed the small snakes. The truth and falsehood. When the magicians saw this great picture, The light of faith shone in their hearts, and all the magicians prostrated themselves in the presence of Allah Almighty. All the magicians confirmed the unity will of Allah Almighty and believed in the true nature of Allah Almighty. For this reason, when the news of this great honor of Hertz, Musa, peace be upon him, and the faith of the magicians reached Hertz, Asai, at that moment the light of truth shone in Hertz, Asai's heart, and in this way Hertz, Asai believed in the unity of Allah Almighty, but her faith was not that easy, because she was the wife of the most cruel ruler of the world, Hazrat Asai, may Allah be pleased with her. And there was a fear in her heart that if the Pharaoh learned my faith, that cruel ruler would bring mountains of oppression and cruelty to me and would increase his oppression. He would exceed all limits. But despite this, Hazrat Asai, may Allah be pleased with her, believed in Allah Almighty and believed in the mercy of Allah Almighty. Hazrat Asai, may Allah be pleased with her, did not reveal her faith to anyone at the beginning. As time passed like this, one day a strange and bad event occurred, and her heart became even more angry against the Pharaoh, and Hazrat Asai, may Allah be pleased with her, began to hate the Pharaoh. It became difficult for Hazrat Asai, may Allah be pleased with her, to tolerate the Pharaoh's hatred towards Muslims. The incident happened as follows. One day, one of the servants who was combing the Pharaoh's daughter's hair dropped the comb from her hand and said Bismillah and took the comb. When the Pharaoh's daughter heard this call, she asked, "Daughter of Pharaoh, in whose name did you take the comb?" The servant girl answered, "I am reciting in the name of Allah, the God of my father and Pharaoh." The Pharaoh's daughter came and complained to the Pharaoh and said that he believed in another god other than himself and that he worshipped another god. When the Pharaoh heard this, he got angry and called her to his palace and asked her if she believed in another god other than herself. The servant immediately said, "Yes, my God and your God is Allah. He has no partner other than him." The Pharaoh became angry and ordered her and her children to be thrown into the fire, and they were also martyred. This was a terrible and heartbreaking scene. At that time, the Pharaoh's wife was watching the incident. The Pharaoh came to his wife and began to tell about the cruelty he had inflicted on that oppressed woman. At this time, the Pharaoh's wife decided to rebel against the Pharaoh and said to the Pharaoh, "I believe in Allah, who is my true God and the true God of all creatures." So this brave woman openly appeared before the Pharaoh. The Pharaoh began to praise his wife. When he heard this, he was very surprised and saddened and decided to punish his wife by giving her various punishments to make her abandon her faith and believe in me as God. Dear friends, it is stated in the narration that Hazrat Asai was subjected to various tortures by the order of the Pharaoh. By the order of the Pharaoh, nails were driven into her hands and feet, she was laid in the sun, and an attempt was made to make her abandon her religion. In another narration, Hazrat Asai was subjected to various tortures by the order of the Pharaoh.